Hello, today for review I've got a pretty fresh and recently released player, iBasso DX320. Actually the DX300 was a pretty big game changer because it shifted the limits of possible, at least for the company, but actually it made a big impact on the digital audio players market in general, and actually it appeared to be a pretty short-living. I'm not sure why, but iBasso discontinued it and released new model. So initially it was a bit of mystery what digital tonal converters they will use, but actually here they used ROHS digital tonal converter, pretty unknown to the global audiophiles market, but pretty decent digital tonal converter chips. And also they boosted internals a little bit. Finally we can get a player with chipset and memory close to at least budget smartphones. It built with Snapdragon 660 and has 6 gigabytes of internal memory, runs Android 11, so uses upgraded amplifier card M11 M Mark IIs. Unfortunately, price also rise pretty noticeably, so it costs $1,600. But actually we live in the era of inflation and crisis, so it's pretty expected. Anyway, let's have a closer look. As you can see, package is traditional for iBasso, interesting half case with foiling, looks pretty fancy. Internal box is made of cardboard, feels pretty pleasant, and inside you'll find a lot of interesting things. So player itself, let's get it out and put it aside. So as you can see, ROHM BD34301, 2 digital tonal converters, FPGA master, 6 gigabytes of RAM plus 128 gigabytes of flash memory, 6.5 inches Full HD screen, so pretty good specifications. In terms of amplification power, actually it's also pretty powerful, more than 1.2 watts for 32 ohms load from the balanced output, and more than 300 milliwatts for the single-ended out. So even stock amplifier is pretty mighty. So what we've got here: short manual, warranty card, screen protector, USB Type-C cable, and the coaxial adapter and iBasso burn-in cable that they put to accessory set of all the players for many years. And pretty pleasant touch, they added case to the accessory set, so, and not silicone one, but nice leather. I'm not sure is it real leather or Fox leather, but anyway, case is pretty nice and well built, so really good. As you can see, accessory set, package and presentation are done on a great level. In terms of design, it's really close to his predecessor. As you can see, the DX300 looks almost the same, with a slight difference in the design of the volume knob, but actually main difference is color and a bit of texture. And in general, in terms of size, it's almost the same. As you can see, a bit different tint of color, but I'm not sure was it intended change or just a difference between batches. Player is really big, so to fit 6.5 inch screen and the big battery, powerful amplifier, digital tonal converter, FPGA, and all the stuff that is hidden inside of this case, they required a big body, but it's pretty slim, so it's in general it's really comfortable. Not super pocketable, but actually not as bulky as many other models. Especially here I like this back panel, it has a glass-like feel, really nice opalescent color, really stylish look in my opinion. So here you can see the volume knob, It uses encoder, it has smooth rotation with really low level of clicks, but it registers rotations pretty well. 3 buttons for playback control, they have nice well-defined click. And also, as usual, this button is tappable, so you can use it works as a power button too. On the bottom side there is an amplifier with 3 outputs, so Pentagon 2.5mm and 3.5mm is traditional. Amplifier models are replaceable. Actually, iBasso is one of the last companies that does that and one of the most successful. With this player they released also M13 with core GNU tubes, but I will talk about it in one of next reviews. Here is a slot for microSD cards. Of course 128 GB of flash memory is good, but usually it's not enough. And on the top there is a coaxial output and USB Type-C. USB Type-C is super multifunctional. You can use this player as digital to analog converter, you can connect external digital to analog converter to it. Of course it uses for charging it and to access external media, to access internal flash and SD card of this player. So all you can expect from the modern player it does. And speaking about charging, it uses 2 separate batteries, one for digital and one for analog circuits, and they are charged separately, but usually you can get from 7 to 9 hours of work depending on what load you will use. And usually digital battery is drained faster than analog one, but it highly depends on the type of load you will be using. And the biggest part of front panel occupied by the huge great screen. It's really bright, colorful and so on. Also here, I'm not sure will it be visible on video, but there is a stripe with LED indicator, so it's not bright and integrated nice into body, so looks pretty fancy. But screen is one of the strongest part of this player, so let's move the brightness to maximum. So viewing angles and colors and brightness all is on the good level. Maybe it's not comparable with flagship smartphones, but definitely it's one of the greatest screens in the digital audio players world. It responses to touches really well, and thanks to the good internals, player feels really fast and fluid. All interface works really well. As a main firmware, here used Android 11. Not the most recent version, but a pretty fresh one. Also one of the most fresh on the player's market, so buyers won't have to worry about the end of support for some streaming applications, because some people don't want to buy players with Android 7 thinking that it will be soon outdated. I don't think it will be a matter of few years, but Android 11 is a pretty safe choice here. No Play services out of the box, but I'm almost sure that same as with previous versions, you can install it with APK Pure and it will work. I didn't have a time to check this because this is a loaner unit I'll have to return. As you can see, status bar is pretty saturated with different information. Here is volume, gain medium, one of 2 filters and icon of Mango Music, and 2 battery indicators. As I've said, it has separate indicators for the digital and analog part and separate battery power supply. In the settings you'll find a few additional settings like audio, for example. Here you can select volume, gain 3 levels, output, headphone out or line out, digital filter. There are just 2 filters. This is a limitation probably of this ROHM digital to analog converter. But for the DSD there are 3 filters. Also you can limit volume. You can select will this volume knob work always or when screen is on or only off, or you can disable it, and DSD gain compensation. And also here you can select audio control buttons, which version you prefer. And main application is Mango player. It's almost the same as it was in the previous version, so I won't go deep into describing every single aspect. It has nice, really convenient, flexible media library. Here you can browse by album, artist, genre, now playing, playlist, or you can browse it by files. On the now playing screen you can see the album cover and change the track, the playback order and so on. And there is a bunch of settings, so here you can activate gapeless playback. Actually, what is the sense of keeping it off? Select one of gains, play mode, equalizer. Actually, equalizer is pretty good. You can use just a graphical equalizer, or you can use a parametric equalizer, pretty flexible in terms of tuning, that allows you to tweak a lot of aspects of the sound. You select filter, type of the filter, you can change the band, gain and so on. I won't go deep here too, I described it in the previous video, so if you're interested you can watch them. But most probably you are familiar with parametric equalizer already. Left and right balance, 2 filters, scan media library, and a bunch of advanced settings. So DSD filter here, DSD volume compensation, pause when you unplug headphones, indicator you can turn off if you don't want, activate USB digital tone converter and Bluetooth receiver mode here, display settings, so just basic things here, sleep timer and system information. As you can see, pretty convenient, pretty snappy, fast and reliable in terms of interface. If you don't like Android, you can reboot the device and activate Mango OS mode. It's separate operation system, not based on Android, or maybe it's based on Android, but Android is hidden really well here. But most probably it's Linux based operation system, and the interface here is pretty close to what we've seen in the Mango OS on the for the Android, with a bit of difference. So here is media library. Looks basically almost the same as it was with Android version, and almost same additional settings, with one exception: equalizer here is only linear. They didn't port parametric equalizer here. And here also almost the same things, just with few additional options moved here, because there is no system settings application. Actually, it's fast, responsive, it boots up a bit faster than regular Android, so if you don't need the Android features, you can use Mango OS and get a bit of extra battery lifetime. In terms of sound, they are basically the same. And of course about the sound, you know, it's really hard to describe the sound of this player because it's really good, it's really mature, but at the same time it's absolutely uncolored. So iBasso is pretty consistent in their tuning and they don't use any sound coloration, and actually this player is not an exception. So does it sound similar to DX300? Yes, definitely you can totally spot a lot of similarity. Is it better? Yes, it's also better, but let's talk about the difference later. Meanwhile, let's focus on the sound of this player itself. So it's natural, resolving, slightly highlighting attacks, and because of that sounding dynamic, beat forward, and it builds a spacious stage, so really engaging sound. But at the same time it's engaging not because of some coloration like many other players does, but because of maximum resolution and dynamics. So bass goes deep, actually to maximum depth. Of course it controls well, it has great resolution, it has good textures, but at the same time it has zero added weight, so it's absolutely fat free. When bass is recorded as being weighty and massive, it will sound this way. But if bass is recorded as a natural one, it will sound this way. It has a great amount of overtones, and because of that all acoustic instruments and instruments with rich timbre sounds really engaging, palpable, and natural. But at the same time, it's not exaggerating it as some players with added weight. And if you use true representation with added weight on the low frequencies, it can sound a bit dry to you. But to my taste, it's not dry, it's just absolutely uncolored. And first example, let's unlock it. Come on. So first example, it's Musica Nuda, Quando, and it's a live version because it's even more demanding in terms of performance to represent Ferruccio Spinetti's double bass, and this player nails it absolutely perfectly without any issues or problems. So absolutely great representation of this really saturated instrument. Actually, if you'd like to see how case looks, here it is. As you can see, they've added this notch to fit the knob better, so they took into account the small issue of previous version. And another track, actually it's Prodigy Breeze, I added here because I like how it sounds with electronic music. But at the same time, a lot of people who like electronic music, who like bass-rich tracks, prefer more weighty representation. But in my opinion, top-of-the-line players should be on the natural side of things. I don't like when they are too monitoring, and it's not the case for this player, of course. But added weight I don't like even more, probably. If I want to add weight, I will use some bassy weighty earphones. And here you definitely get a good amount of punch and mid, but at the same time it won't be highlighted absolutely. Mids are also natural, uncolored, with really this player is really demanding in terms of record quality, because it won't try to hide any issues, it won't try to highlight something or to mask, so what is recorded you will get. It's slightly boosting micro contrast, sorry, not macro dynamics, it's slightly boosting micro contrast. And also it's slightly boosting attacks, so it sounds a bit forward. And because of that, it's even more highlighting the small nuances and details. And with audiophilic tracks, with something perfectly recorded, you will be surprised with the amount of details it represents, with the amount of nuances, overtones, and stuff like that. Imaginary stage is huge, it's big in width and in depth. It's not exaggerating the stage, but builds it pretty three-dimensional, really impressive, with all small nuances and positioning. And first track, it's Tuomas Holopainen, Lifetime of Adventure. I really like this symphony poem. It has really a lot of instruments. It's not perfectly recorded, but pretty well. It's engaging, fun, with a lot of interesting ideas, and thanks to the huge spacious stage of this player, you will be surprised with this track. It sounds really engaging. And just a more simpler track, but still pretty fun to listen with this player. It's Måneskin, I Wanna Be Your Slave. Nice groovy drum and bass line in the beginning, and forward emotional vocal that is saturated with nuances thanks to the manner of this player, and because of that sounds engaging. And actually, you know, there are different types of engaging. Some players are engaging because they are boosting something, like highlighting emotions or smoothing something. This one is engaging in the audiophilic, from the audiophilic point of view, giving you nuances, details, nuances, and big stage. Great for critical listening because it's detailed but not too monitoring at the same time. And treble, another strong part of this player, great extension, really good layering with perfect separation of this overtone layers of timbre-rich instruments, and because of that it builds you great stage. It also contributes into stage building. It gives you that on the good records you can definitely hear the nuances of hall or room or studio where it was recorded, especially it's engaging with some live tracks. And at the same time it's not highlighted, not smooth, so basically absolutely natural. And first one is John McEuen, Excitable Boy, from Chesky Rock Reimagined, and it's a really well recorded track, so it has a lot of treble details and nuances, and you will hear them all. Definitely you will be surprised with how realistic guitars and vocals sound here. And another one, it's I Only Want to Say, from Jesus Christ Superstar, and it's a pinnacle of this rock opera, great vocal performance by Ian Gillan, and another example where treble plays their role. You will get new level of naturalness. Of course, if you're moving from something more affordable or lower segment, and you will get natural vocal, really great sounding instruments, and really enjoyable performance. Speaking about the pairings, absolutely flawless player, low level of background noise thanks to 3 level of gains. Even with really sensitive models, background noise is almost inaudible, and enough of power to drive vast majority of headphones. Maybe some tough to drive models will require balanced connection, but anyway 1.2 watts for the balanced out will be more than enough for many cases. Maybe just few exceptions like Abyss and that other hard to drive planar magnetic models, but luckily there are not many of them. And speaking about the comparisons, actually comparing to DX300, this one is a bit less weighty, bit more focused on the micro contrast, and because of that sounding bit more monitoring and with slightly better resolution. So it's a step forward towards the audiophilic representation. Also in this segment we've got Hybe R8, but Hybe R8 is slightly worse in terms of weight distribution, because this one deals with weight and body of instruments in a slightly better way. And also it features replaceable amplifiers, which is also a great thing in this segment. And Shenling players are really different. They are more weighty, so Shenling's typical signature is different, absolutely. FIO M17 is this price tier, it's more dynamic, and I like FIO M17 sound a bit better because I like that crazy dynamics and level of emotion, but at the same time, of course, M17 is much less portable, so this player is better in terms of portability. I really wonder, will iBasso release the max version of DX320, because for the previous flagship they released max version. For this one we'll live and we'll see. So to summarize everything here, iBasso once again make a step forward, improving the sound of their player, and that great sound packed in a great body with modern hardware, tons of power. Price is slightly higher, but unfortunately everything is becoming more and more expensive nowadays. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.